At the KSMO studios, we're sitting down with former presiding commissioner Darrell Skiles, and he's in and going to give us a little bit of update on different things going on and what's going on and your health. Number one, first off, I don't think people sometimes do truly understand concussion. It's just something you can't explain till you go through it. Can't you?
Thank you, Stan. Yeah, I understand a lot more about concussions now than I did, and yeah, I did. I suffered a concussion. Got struck in the head working on some fence. Got struck in the head by a board back on Saturday, February the 3rd, late in the afternoon. And so at any rate,
1 month started from today.
Exactly a month from today. Yeah. So at any rate, I ended up in the emergency room out here at the hospital, and I have high praises for the folks out there at the hospital of how I was taken care of and treated there. But on Monday, February, I don't remember what the date was, but I ended up going to the emergency room. Finally, I was having real serious head pain and balance issues and a little disoriented and things. So at any rate, was diagnosed with a concussion. Got struck on top of the head by a board, and evidently I fell backwards and hit the back of my head pretty hard. And so
you tried to double dip and found out it didn't work.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if I wasn't so hard-headed, it might have killed me. So at any rate, that's kind of the background there. So I've been dealing with it since now. The head pain and all that's better and stuff. So I do want to, excuse me, right off the bat here, though, I do want to thank our state rep, Ron Copeland, for filling in for me on the, I think that was the February 17th meeting.
It was.
That he came in and filled in because I just couldn't do that. It's a weird thing. I still have a bit of an aversion to reading much of anything or even watching a program that's complicated or with much plot to it. You know, if the TV's going to be on, I'd just assume it was one of the old black and white westerns that you can just kind of ignore. And, you know, if you fall asleep, you can wake back up and you really haven't missed anything, you know. You kind of know how it's
You've probably seen it 20 times already.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so that's what was going on with here this February has been a really strange month. So,
it's
but
kind
at
of
any
a lost month for you because you really.
But at any rate, I did want to thank Ron Copeland. He's our state rep, but also Ron is a great personal friend of mine, and I do appreciate him, and I think he does a fantastic job as our state representative up in Jeff City, and I really appreciated him filling in for me there that day when I couldn't be in here. So since then, though, some other things have happened, and now I'm former presiding commissioner, as you said earlier. And I know this comes as a deal, and I've heard there's all kinds of, people questioning things, and I've tried to explain it. And I tried to explain it in the commission meeting as best I could, and that day my head was really killing me, but I needed to get this taken care of. And I want to back up, Stan, if I could, and kind of explain. Last year when it was time to file, I really contemplated perhaps not filing run again and going ahead and taking my retirement at that time. I've got some, my mother, bless her heart, is 96. She'll be 97 soon. And I take care of all of her affairs. She's very blessed and fortunate to be able to still live at home. And she gets her walker and she heads out most every morning to head to the restaurant and eat. And very blessed and fortunate. But from time to time, there's health issues. Something comes up. I'm one phone call away at all times from having to take care of an issue there. Earlier last year, had to get her out to the hospital for a few days and some things. And just, I have to take care of things there, and I have another dear friend that I'm responsible for her care as well, and take care of those things. And I've found, in the last couple of 3 years, just feeling like I was getting stretched thinner and thinner and thinner, and trying to take care of these personal kind of family matters all the time, and having to try to squeeze them in. I hope folks feel like that when I was presiding commissioner, I tried to do it 100%. I mean, it's not, quote, what they call the full-time job. Commissioners get paid 70% of what you call full-time office holders get paid. But I tried to do it 110% and give it everything I had and plus, and tons of meetings to go to and represent the county's interest in these things. And it's part of it, and I enjoyed it. I loved it, made great friends all over the state. I served on the County Commission Association Board of Directors for a number of years and made some fantastic friends and contacts there. And, I've heard the old saying that a man's wealth isn't measured by the amount of money he has in the bank, but the number of people he counts as his friends. And so I feel I could die right now a rich man, but not by looking at my bank account necessarily. So at any rate, excuse me. So at any rate, I considered it last year some about possibly not filing and running again, and so that it was bothering me more and more that I was having to try to squeeze these other things in as time would allow, because I couldn't put county stuff necessarily on the back burner. That I just couldn't do that. So, but at that time, as you well know, Stan, there were two things really on my mind at that time. One of them being, I wanted to get work finally started on getting repairs done on our old courthouse. It's a beautiful, beautiful old building, and we needed to get some major work done on it, get it sealed up from the top, just mainly exterior work, get it done. We also need to get a bathroom inside, a better bathroom, public bathroom thing. So we need to get that done. But the big thing, Stan, was this Department of Revenue thing that was still hanging over our heads. And most people that I know, they've heard us talk about this. Back in February 21, by surprise, the Department of Revenue withheld $1,005,000 in sales tax revenue from the county, spread out over February, March, and April of that year, because of a mistake they had made going back years and years.
Right.
So therefore,
they had made.
The Department of Revenue made. Nobody here done this, and it's, at any rate, a coding error that resulted in sales tax revenue going back years and years and years being paid each month to the county that should not have been paid. And so then when they added it all up, then they withheld $1,005,000 at that time.
But they weren't done adding.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm serious about this. That had to be, on my 16 years as presiding commissioner, that was absolutely the worst night of my life about anything going on, thinking about this and its impact. You just, small third-class county like ours, it's pretty hard to absorb $1,005,000 hit in one fell swoop. And but at any rate, we kind of got through that and were demanding information, what had happened and how and what was going on, only to find out in May that the Department of Revenue was still adding up more withholdings they were going to do. And we didn't know how much it was going to be. At that time, I think it was up to over $700,000. And the calculator's still going.
Yeah, still.
And this, and this was just like a second punch in the gut. Didn't know when that was going to finally get what the total amount was, and how much was it going to be? Another million? Was it going to be $1.5 million? Had no idea. Were they going to take this out over 3 months? And it'd been indicated that we could possibly spread it out over a couple of years, maybe 3 years, 36 months withholds each month. Well, man. You talk about withholding that much money each month, even just spread out over 36 months, that's still a terrible whack. So we started in on this. We hired the attorneys, the firm out of Springfield that deals with government issues and all these things. And they went to work on this to try to get better information and stuff. So at any rate, we've been working, and this was still hanging over our heads big time, even at time of filing last year. And I just felt I couldn't walk away with those two things, actually, nothing being done yet to get work started on the old courthouse, but the big thing being getting this Department of Revenue issue settled. Now, in the meantime, was able to have a meeting with the new director of Department of Revenue, Wayne Wallingford. He's a former senator from Southeast Missouri, and my commission friends in that area told me what a great guy he is, and always willing to go the extra mile, to help with things. Commissioner Larson and I had a fantastic meeting with him. I believe it was in March then last year in Jeff City. Senator Brown set this meeting up, and Representative Copeland, he came over for the meeting as well, and all expressing concern about the situation we were in. And Mr. Wallingford, the director at that time, expressed, that he apologized, he was sincere, and that he would be looking at it and see what they could do. But at any rate, this thing sat there and has ran on, and so as I say, I'd contemplated not running, but I couldn't walk away and leaving. Felt like what I felt like was major, and it was major unfinished business at that time. So that's fine. So I ran, and I really appreciate the fact that I was reelected and was able to go ahead and proceed and carry on. Now then.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I know
Go right
you're
ahead.
in the middle of
Pitch
the
in
story,
anytime.
But can you just say you didn't run, and a new commissioner would have come in and tried to get up to date on all this information with the Department of Revenue that you had just fought through to get to this stage? How hard would that have been for somebody to get up to date?
Well, it would have been challenging. However, I will say that by the time we got to December here in January, we were finally at a better. Actually, in September, I was notified that they were going to offer a better deal than 36 months, but it still wasn't as good as I wanted. And I actually sent I had some contact with the director directly with Director Wallingford, pleading my case that we had this courthouse work we had to do. We're a small third-class county, and we would very much appreciate still something better than that. To be honest, our attorney wasn't very optimistic. He was a little shocked that they had sweetened it a little bit as much as they had. He wasn't very optimistic that we were going to get anything better, but we'd have to see. So at any rate, that was back in September, middle or end of September. Finally, as we got up here into January, then it did appear that they would offer us a better deal. We wanted, before we would sign off on a settlement, we'd sent back, that we wanted every month assurance. We wanted every month accounting for what the sales tax was without withhold, and then what the withhold was, reflecting
a full
repayment, a full accounting, because that's what had been lacking through this whole deal, a full accounting, and almost a reluctance to do that. And Mr. Wallingford assured us that he was going to work on some of those things. And so, but we were still waiting to hear even, the 1st of February even, were they going to agree to that? And we finally, well, I ended up getting whacked here with this board and had the concussion, so ended up staying home a lot. I spent several days at home, kind of in the dark and quiet, and it's strange staying. I've never slept a lot every day, but I'd sleep 16, 18, 20 hours a day. But at any rate, here just I think it was around February 10th or so, I got confirmation then that Department of Revenue had agreed fully to all the terms and to spread this payment out over 7 years, 84 months. Which is just a huge relief, because we had talked about it. If it was spread out, Stan, you see, like for general revenue, we'll take in, there was $223,000 to be withheld. It comes to a total of $933,000 to be withheld. That's spread out over general revenue, law enforcement sales tax, the 2 jail funds, and the road and bridge fund. The two big ones,
funds that are affected.
But the 2 big ones were the general revenue and the law enforcement fund of I believe about $223,000 each we're going to have to repay. Well, if you can pay that back over 84 months versus 36 months, I think over 36 months it figured out to like $61 or $200. Spread it out over 84 months, it comes out to about, $2,000 and some dollars a month withhold, which is still, that's not chump change, obviously, but you've seen, we'll take in sometime, usually around $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a month in sales tax revenue. It had been trending up.
Sure.
So to absorb it, $2,000 or $2,300 out of that one in a month, you wouldn't really notice it, anything like it all. Same way across with all of them.
You think about like 6,000 over a year, Darrell. That's 72,000.
There you go.
You're going to see
That's
that.
Right. That's right. He figured out it was going to be somewhere around 75,000.
It's like losing a month of income.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I fought so diligently to get that done. I can't tell you what a relief it was for me personally, at least. When we got that confirmation, it was done. All we had to do was sign the agreement, and it was over, done. And matter of fact, the commission this past Monday, as I understand, signed the agreement, and that deal is behind the county now. But also in that was assurance the calculator was totally done on this issue. There'd be no more surprises on this thing.
Right.
And
also
so
assured the accounting would be done as well.
the accounting would be done. A full accounting each month would come to the county. So I can't tell you what a relief that was. And and I've had some, in some ways, I have to say, it's like maybe this concussion that I had was almost a little bit of a blessing, because it gave me a lot of time to sit and think about what's important and this and that. And it occurred to me, and that had these things gotten taken care of before it's time to file, I probably would not have filed anyway. But if I hadn't, then there would have been a new commissioner sitting there trying to figure out how in the world this budget thing works, because that's a deal when you're brand new and trying to work through budget.
And not knowing what the agreement was going to be.
Right, and all these things. So, and when I looked at it, I thought, you know what, everything, and really and truly, Stan, right now, I don't think I could put the puzzles of a piece together any better than what it is as far as right now, the county's in the best financial shape it's ever been in. And I don't take credit for that. This is due to the credit of everybody, office holders, employees, everybody works well still. I mean, we'll have dust up once in a while over budget. Every year it's kind of a given, in a deal. And when it's done, you agree to disagree on some things and you move on. But in the bigger picture, the county's in the best financial position it's ever been in. It really is. And I'm extremely proud of that. And if there'd be another disaster, still the county is in a position to absorb and take care of those things, as we've talked about before, whatever it be, storms. And by the way, we're getting plenty of storm damage. Sure glad I don't have to worry about the roads and things these days. But at any rate,
yeah, there are going to be some washouts.
Yeah. But at any rate, right now, the county's in
and
the
they're
best.
all in training.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's a funny thing. Every year we have to take our annual training. I'm going to sneeze here in a minute. Forgive me, folks. And that was coming up this week. And actually, I was supposed to be up there Tuesday afternoon to meet with the board. Was still on the board, and then the commission training beginning then Wednesday, Thursday, get done today. And I'll tell you what, even going back to January, just because of all these other things that kind of weigh on me and stuff, I was really dreading this one, and I really enjoy the training. I enjoy all the meetings, all the different training sessions that we have, and the stuff, and getting back together with commissioners across the state, because you can't believe how, besides just the training sessions, how interesting and informational it is, just the visiting with different commissioners and what's going on in their counties and how they address this and how they address that, a problem they had that you might want to think about and stuff. And it's a great session. I've always enjoyed it. But I'll tell you what, in January this year, it was like I was being torn inside of almost dreading having to be gone those 4 days. It just was sitting there kind of working on me some. But at any rate, as I sit here a couple of weeks ago and thinking about this, where everything was at, the county's in the best position it's ever been in financially. It's good shape. We had this nightmare finally done behind us, that big black cloud lifted with the Department of Revenue thing, taken care of, a good contract with a good firm. And I noticed this week they were up there working around the courthouse with the high lift and getting ready to go at it here as the weather gets better. And I thought, you know what? Things are the best position they've ever been in. And it was kind of in the middle of this. Folks that I've helped before, some at the South Central Stockyards at Vienna. I've worked as a field rep for them before. And we talked and visited, and they could use, they would love to have me come back and help them in a little larger capacity down here, but nothing that would be like full-time, but would still free me up to, take care of things that I need to take care of.
Family.
There you go. And it was like everything came together at one time, and I sat there and I thought, you know what, I couldn't put anything together for things to be a better time to go. And you got two commissioners there, Gary Larson and Wes Mowbray. They've been there long enough that they know what's what. The county clerk, Angie Curley, she's been there forever, I think.
A few years.
Yeah. Started when she was 3 years old or so, I think. And but at any rate, and been there long enough. Then I thought, and as you know, and I mentioned to them right now, with the budget's done. The county's in good shape. There's nothing hanging over the head. It can just almost operate on autopilot for the next year. As far as there's nothing really. I mean, other than unless there'll be stuff come up, and I get that. But
as far as the everyday operations, though, right now,
it'll just click along.
You know what to expect from the sales tax issue. You don't have that still hanging over
That's
your head.
gone.
You
That's
know that
done.
the county courthouse. You know there's going to be work done. And Corky Stagg will do a fine job.
Yep.
And getting the information to the guys, and then the grinder grinder at the sewer plant, that's all gotten done now, or not done, but it's been contracted.
Right.
And it's going to be done. So
And that whole deal there, if people heard that, there was an omission when the bids was put out there. There was one thing that was omitted from the bidding, and that was a deal they call a muffin monster to be installed in the sewer line down there at the jail. So we didn't pay for it, obviously, then in the bidding and work and stuff, but it became obvious that it needed to be in there, and that's what's going on with that deal, just an update. So at any rate, it just, as I stood here and I thought, man, everything is in place for everything to work just fine. And, chance to go back. And I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not riding off into the sunset or nothing. I'm still here, as Yogi Berra said. Yogi Berra said, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. So I decided, you know what, it's time to take that fork. Yeah. Now's a good time. I think I can't, and I was totally comfortable with it. I thought about even putting it off a little bit, the decision till March, or I mean up later in March or April, and think some more. But I thought, you know what, I don't even want to go up to the commission training knowing in the back of my mind, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. I'm going to move on, and I can't, and just sit on it. And I decided. So I don't remember what the date was, the 23rd maybe. Commission meeting on the 23rd.
Yes.
Then I was come in and told them then, and then the end of that particular period as far as payroll and how everything works there was that Saturday, and so just come in and made that announcement then that I would resign effective that day, and so that's the rest of the story, as the late great Paul Harvey would have said, So that's it. And I know folks ask and people want to speculate to this and that and all, no, quit the speculation. This came together as a perfect time for me to do this, and I think I've left the county in a good position. When I came in to this office, January 1st, 2007, my number one goal in my mind at that time even was, I want to leave this place better than I found it. I want to leave Dent County better than when I came in. I certainly didn't want to leave. And I came in, for at that time, and I would give a great deal of credit at that time, that Commissioner Simpson, Commissioner Toon, they'd done a good job watching over the finances very closely. The finances weren't as good as they are now, but the situation was different. We didn't have a road and bridge sales tax at that time.
Right.
And, Stan, I think back all the things, actually things were it was pretty tough for the sheriff's budget, and the jail was deplorable back at that time. And Stan, as I've sat there and thought about it, when I came in, the old road and bridge shed out there, at that time, on a windy day, if you were out there, it was crazy, Stan. The walls would weave back and forth.
Yeah,
you could see them weaving back
yeah.
and forth. And if it was raining or snowing, rain or snow was coming in through the roof into the work area where they were trying to work. And they had no place to sit and meet to discuss plans or something that was going on other than sit around on some stumps and the blocks of wood or some old rickety chairs deal. And so we went to work on that, and with our own people, pretty much rebuilt the shed with a decent meeting room, an office area to keep track on computer. They can pull up every road pull it up until every road, when gravel was put on it and when they've been graded. They keep track of all that out there and do a great job. We added on a building there on one of the sheds to store equipment, tried to improve equipment over the years, and done some improvement work on chip and seal, and done a little extra chip and seal stuff. And we got a sales tax passed to help fund road and bridge, and that was huge in 2015, because at that point, Stan, you probably remember, we were having to take $150,000 to $200,000 out of general revenue just to keep road and bridge afloat, just to maintain what we had. And so then that created a bind on the general revenue side of trying to maintain pay for employees to be comparable, at least with what's in the private sector, and keep good employees from leaving us. Because, I can tell you this, you can elect the finest, brightest people in the world to any of these offices, but without good employees, the wheels won't turn very well. No. It'll just grind to a halt.
They don't turn at all.
That's right. Yeah.
While you're in office, an annex was purchased. You had the annex on.
And by doing that, we were able to move the prosecuting attorney from the top floor of the judicial building.
Mm-hmm. It opened up a lot of different things. You got a space for the public administrator. You got a space for the coroner to actually have an office that they can actually go to instead of kind of working out of a truck.
And we were able to set up that office that Wayne Becker from the sheriff's office housed, doing that computer crime lab against crimes against children lab. He ended up actually being so well known that he was sent to Australia, I think it was, to help teach and show them what he had been doing on investigating crimes against children in computer. Think about a little detective right here in Dent County there that he was asked to come to Australia so he could help teach them how to do that. But again, we were able to set him up in that office over there, where he could totally focus on that without outside intervention and stuff. We got that. Yeah, we got that done.
A lot of different things were done, and in the period, and it was a matter, and I remember when you came in and Commissioner Toon and Simpson were there, and you were the new kid on the block and learning it and
Sure.
taking over from Mr. Biggs, and Jim was a great guy. And
Absolutely.
but
Fine, the
you know,
finest guy.
when you came in, you had a lot of education of your own. You had to learn.
That's right.
And you know, it's not like you walk in and you know what to do. You don't. You have no clue. And if anybody would have seen the stacks of paper on your desk, no.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're a stacker. I'm a stacker. I know how that
Well,
goes.
and I'll tell you, I considered going in and just kind of clearing that whole desk off. And I thought, man, there's a lot of stuff there. And I thought, whoever comes into this needs to take a little time of his own even to kind of look through some of that, and we'll get a little bit of education, may have some question, and whoever comes in, I'll be willing to help. But yeah, and you know, some people express concern, but you know, but somebody else, you know, look, I'm not the brightest person that ever was, and I was able to sit down there and figure it out, and you know, we've got good people in this county, a number of them, anyone that can go in there and sit down and in a matter of time then, but they'll sit down with a budget already in place and can start as the year goes along, you know, see how that works and be ready to go at full speed then when the next budget time comes around for 24. And I'll be more than willing to help answer any questions and go, or if, you know, if somebody, whoever gets it, and I have no idea, I'm trying to stay out of that. I understand there's several expressed interests, and I'm tickled to death. So if they want me to go, I mean, I've made some great contacts at Regional Planning Commission, and especially on the Transportation Advisory Committee. That's a major committee.
That's a big one.
Of impact for us. So we can get. I'll be more than willing to help anybody with any contacts if they want. Whatever, I'll put it out there and be available. Like I said, I'm not going anywhere, and I'll be around. But you can't believe what a relief it is to have a lot of these things off the deal of not having to. You know, there was a lot of evening meetings too and different things.
You
And
know,
so at any rate, I just felt like there wasn't any point at all me going up to the training, knowing that this is where I was headed with this and that, taking that back. So at any rate, that's where it's at. And I, like I said, when I went in, well, you know, one of the biggest thing when we passed that sales tax for Road and Bridge in 2015, we knew we were looking at this jail thing that we had to, going to have to do something. And you know what? I'll tell you one of the things I'm most proud of, though, Stan, is this. I mean, I love Dent County. This is where I was born and raised. It's where I'm going to die, I hope. I hope to goodness somehow or another when that time comes and I'm able to do it, be right here. But at any rate, I'll be, they'll scatter my remains or whatever, bury me here. And this is where I want to be, where I'm at. But one of the things I'm most proud of, you know, is the people of this county, this town and this county. You know, when you put before them a need, and whether we're talking about a sales tax or whatever, you know, you've seen it. People of this community step up and answer the bell, answer the call, and they just step up constantly. You just look at the 4-H FFA sales that we have and stuff. We're the envy of about every county anywhere around us that we're able to, you know, the people support that thing and the way we do. And again, going back to the sales tax, we put it out there. Here's what was going on with Road and Bridge. If we were going to keep maintaining these chip and seal roads, there was going to have to be extra revenue because the cost had just gone up, and we just couldn't keep doing it. Couldn't keep robbing from general revenue to cover it.
Well,
and the people passed it.
You know, getting back to that, I think when they were first initially did it, and then there was a lot of cost share in some of these chip and seal roads with people putting
50-50.
in money, their own hard-earned money to help pay with the county to put this road in. But there was never any contingency to pay for maintenance.
There you go. That's
okay.
Started.
So the chip and seal's done, good for 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years. But you know, it depends on the traffic, depends on the weather, it depends on a number of different factors. Then all of a sudden the road starts to chip up. Well, they
have to be redone every 5 or 6 years.
Exactly.
You lose them.
You know, but then they start to chip up really bad, and then do you make the decision to let it go back to gravel?
Right.
Or do you come and put that second layer on and then have to redo it? And that was the big thing. And the county could not afford to keep taking money out of general revenue to just pay for roads.
Right. It got to be a huge burden. But beyond that, then, you know, we knew the jail thing. So we went to work on, once we got that deal, we went to work then on the jail, getting a firm to, an architect engineer firm to come up with ideas, plans, a lot of studying on that, where and how and so on. And then in 17, we took that out and took it to the voters to show and spent a lot of time in meetings and opened the old jail up for the public to come and see. And anybody that came and seen the old jail in the situation then realized firsthand. And Stan, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate Donald Dodd, the Salem newspaper, helping just covering the
Educate
facts,
people.
just covering the facts and helping educate people. This is the situation, as commissioners, you couldn't campaign for it. All you could do is put the information out. We've done our best to put that information out, and by golly, I'll tell you what, we had, as you remember, we had 2 separate sales taxes on the ballot. They both had to pass, so the whole deal went down the toilet. Half cent to pay the bonds off for building the jail, a second sales tax that some of it could be used for paying on the jail if need be, because as I told them, those bonds and that stuff will be paid no matter where you're at otherwise. That will be done. And so, the second one. So anyway, 2 separate half-cent sales taxes. People in Dent County and Salem stepped up, voted 2-1, fund it, let's get going. And I'm extremely proud that we got that over there. It's operating. Sheriff Wells is doing a fantastic job operating, and his staff. It's operating actually in the black. In a lot of counties, they'll build a jail, and next thing you know, the funding wasn't enough to begin to operate it, and they're doing a good job with all kinds of areas. And I heard a nightmare story last week of a county building a jail. Before they got done, they were in a nightmare with the construction management firm. Stan, this construction project on the jail just went seamlessly. I mean, really and truly, there really were no hiccups along the way. We got a very good firm to handle the construction management of it.
Manager on site.
Manager on site, and I can't remember his name. It's one of the things that's
I
escaping
can see his face though.
Great guy. In all the time, they done a great job, and it come together. It was still and thank God that we got that thing going before this COVID mess and supply issues. That would have been just nightmare. We got it open. We opened it in 2020. During the summer 20 after COVID had hit, and we weren't really able to do a quote grand opening like we had hoped. But at any rate, we got it done, and thank goodness we did. And it's and so most people haven't seen, but down where the old jail was, some of the sheriff's staff have been able to at different times as they've had time get material and repurpose them. One of them is a fantastic, rather high tech training room, video stuff there where it can be like real life stuff that they can train for. In offices. And, once we got, the big thing with the old jail was the ventilation and the problems of moisture. But once we got all the people out of there, the ventilation problem disappeared completely. That was the problem. The number of people,
too much heat,
without being able to, respiration. So
I
that's
like-
all everything's. I'm very happy.
No, I like to, because people know that you were on the road quite a bit. You had to be because of the obviously CCAM meetings, the MAC meetings, the different things that you had to go to. When we start talking about the jail issue, and I remember when you had come back from some of these meetings, even before when the commission even had agreed to do a new jail, the first thing you said is, you're hearing these horror stories. Texas County had an issue when they had a brand new jail. They didn't put any money in to operate it. All of a sudden, they were in trouble.
At least not enough.
There were some other counties did the same thing, and I remember you specifically saying at a meeting, guys, I have no problem with building a new jail, but we're going to have a separate fund to make sure that it can operate on its own. And I remember that consistently, and I know you brought that up because you had told everybody the horror stories you had heard at these other meetings, which is why you go to these other meetings. How much education did you get being a commissioner from going to these other meetings and hearing other commissioners' horror stories, and how much are you educating them on Department of Revenue sales tax when you were going to these meetings and they're asking you, how did you do this, or
Absolutely.
what did you do? Because you're educating them in case it should happen to them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Getting out there and getting information, as I said, from other commissioners around the state, what's going on and the water problems they've ran into and why, and what do you do to try to avoid those is just crucial. And I really felt an obligation when this Department of Revenue thing hit. It actually, the next year I was president of the Commission Association, so I did travel to regional meetings and things, and I made sure I reminded them, you may think you're in pretty good shape right now, just be aware, this bomb can drop, at any time. And there needs to be some change in legislation, even how something like that is. Right now, by statute, if you're overpaid sales tax revenue, by law, you have to pay it back. And there's nothing in there that says they have to give you 7 years. it's all basically ends up in the hands of the administration and Department of Revenue. And again, my hat's off to Director Wayne Wallingford. That's my biggest regret about this not being up at the commission training this week, because I actually was, one of the sessions was a presentation by Department of Revenue Director Wayne Wallingford to the whole group, and I was to introduce him and MC the meeting. And I really, that's my biggest regret of not having attended commission training this year, was I didn't get to do that, because I really, that part right there, I really was looking forward to being able to introduce him and compliment him as much as I could in front of the group there, that this is a man of integrity, and he's trying to straighten some things out. Department of Revenue has issues, and he's seriously working on. But at any rate, as you say, going to these things was a thing. Now, we would like to have, had there been enough money to do it, we would like to have built that courtroom on as well, a fully ADA compliant, jury compatible courtroom, offices and so on. But there was no way we could put enough bonding capacity out there to do that. However, we did leave, as people see, that blank spot between the parking lot and the jail is where that courtroom then can be built here in the future. And I am fully confident that was the only other thing really hanging out there, that somewhere down the road here, the commission will probably be coming to the voters with probably a no tax increase measure that would just allow the bond payments to go ahead and be spread out over enough years, that would allow extra bonding then to be put in place to build it. But that, have to get another architect firm and get that design work done and do those things. But that, but again, that's in place. There's a spot there for it, plenty of room, and it should be able to happen. But that's a little further down the road. And
it is.
If that, that was the only other thing that I'd thought about. And here's the thing about that though, and I did think about this. 4 years ago, when it was time to run, well, we were right in the middle of the jail building project, and there was no way I would have walked away at that time to see that jail built. And I kind of thought about that. I thought, you know what? Now here, if I would go ahead now and stay for 4 years, I could see possibly here in about 2 or 3 years, we would put this out to build that, and we'd be right in the middle of building the courtroom thing in 4 years. That would be tough, but otherwise, but it just everything lined up that now was the time, and then somebody else can come in here now and pick that up, and they can be ready to move forward. And
Sure.
The county's in great shape, and I'm, I've left it in very
And
capable
when you
hands.
consider how fortunate, like you mentioned about the timing of the jail when the interest rates were low, you can
Interest
imagine
rates
trying
were
to
low.
do it right now.
Exactly.
And what I always call that is fog money. You get nothing for that interest. You have to pay the interest.
We just
off,
have to pay it.
and that just comes out of your coffers. And it's a non-income producing expense.
Well,
And how much money the county saved just in interest cost alone by doing it at the time you did it, getting it done on time, and then having a separate fund to pay that.
And with the bonds that were sold to do it, we actually, by the time it was all done, actually still ended up with a little over $1.2 million still sitting in the bond trust account up at UMB Bank, St. Louis. And that money now is sitting there drawing, I think it's drawing more interest now just sitting there than what we're paying on the bonds themselves.
Right.
Which is kind of an interesting
Yeah.
deal. So that money's sitting there as seed then for that courtroom thing to be built here later, a little over $1 million. So that'll be a huge head start on that deal. So like I said, I feel so good inside as far as, and I hope folks will forgive me. I hope folks don't feel I'm bailing on them here. But because I'm not, like I said, I'm not going anywhere, and I'll watch. And if they need help or questions, why, I'll be glad to help.
If anybody, and I know when my dad got sick and I had to be down here and he needed my attention, it's a 2-hour drive to St. Louis. So
Yeah.
it's hard to do, and I can imagine just trying to take care of people locally when you're 25, 30 minutes away. But if you're traveling to a meeting in Jeff City or you got to be in Springfield and something comes up, you're still 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to get back. When somebody says, "Hey, I need you now," now means now, not 2 hours away. And I know my dad fell downstairs, and by the time I got there, and I looked at him, I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "It's all my fault."
Well,
and he was fine, but he goes, "But it's all my fault." I said, "What are you doing that for?" You don't. I know exactly what you're trying to go through. You know, and they know what they're doing. They're not stupid people, but
Right.
they know they're pulling you away from a situation. And maybe it's not a good time for to pull you away, but that's okay. It's family. You respond to
Yeah.
family.
Well,
That's number one.
yeah. You got to take care of family. And I mean, as presiding commissioner, I couldn't do it any less than 100 or 110%, and then found myself kind of having to try to squirrel these things around. And, even as, and that's it, I did, even as president of the County Commission Association, the president of the County Commission Association usually every year goes to the National Association of Counties annual meeting, wherever it's at, San Antonio, Texas, or Denver, Colorado, or Washington, D.C. for the legislative conference and these things. Because of these issues, I passed those things off. I didn't go to those deals because, frankly, I just didn't feel like I could be that far away. I mean, that would be a really complicated deal to get a phone call if you're
Yes.
that far away, and you got to try to make connections and get back, and all that, and even. Matter of fact, even MRPC, which I've enjoyed service on MRPC and working with other commissioners around the region, stuff to get good things done. But MRPC, they had kept trying to talk to me, once in a while about being one of the officers, and then you move up to be chairman of the MRPC board, and that's fine and that's great. But I mean, I'm not real big into titles anyway. I don't care. But if you're chairman every year, the chairman and the executive director and somebody else always makes a trip, a 3 or 4 day trip to Washington D.C. to meet with Nick in that, and that's good. They come back with a great report in that, and I always thought, no, I've got to keep myself here closer deal, and I don't want to take that, knowing that when it come time to do that, I'm going to tell them no, I can't go, and stuff. So that's those things. I'm kind of a homebody anyway. I mean, I like to get out and travel some and go, but it's always nice. Anytime we've even left, a few years ago, my wife Marianne and I, we would go to Colorado about every year and enjoy it and love it. But I'm going to tell you what, it was a really good feeling when we coming back and see that Missouri state line sign. Felt like we were home, and that's home's where the heart is, and that's where it is with me. So, anyway, that's as Mr. Paul Harvey would have said. That's the rest of the story. There's where that's at, and as I said, I wanted to leave Dent County. When I came in, I wanted to leave Dent County better than I found it, and I hope folks believe that I have, and I've done my best. I don't have any regrets, and
It's time for a new chapter.
that's it. I prayed about it a lot, and and actually, as I prayed, I felt God saying there is a time and a season for everything. So I'm pretty excited about this new season, and I'll tell you, as I thought about this more then too. I mean, I'm shocked that find myself saying this because I don't know what happened, but I'll turn 65 in September, and it's like yesterday I was 40 and I blinked. And now here I'm going to turn 65 in a few months. And Stan, this is, one time one of my grandsons wanted me to ask about something, if I could go with him to something, and I couldn't. And this was a couple of years ago even that I couldn't because of commission meeting and bids we had to open and stuff. And that's just kind of bugged me a little bit, just deep down inside that I couldn't, when a grandson asks you if you want to go to something and you can't because
You can't turn back the clock.
you got other priorities. Yep. And I thought about this, and I thought, I can I can take my retirement now and start drawing Social Security. I still can't believe I'll say that here in a few months.
Well, you can do it now if you want.
No.
It's just not going to be full price.
But and it just seemed like everything coming around to saying now's the time. So that's why I'm now a has-been.
Well, and the thing is, Darrell, people have to, I think, and a lot of our listeners already know this, is that as you get older, you realize the time is more important now to do the things you want to do, because who knows how much you have left. You just don't really know. Every day is a blessing that you can wake up in the morning and see the sun. Not today, you're not seeing the sun, but, I'm a sun guy. When I wake up in the morning, if I see the sun, I mean, it just pumps me up for another day. It wasn't so much a pump up today, and I knew there was raining last night at midnight. It was raining this morning. I thought, man, we're going to have some issues around the county. I just like the sun. It's just somebody said the sun starts those endorphins in you, and they make you go, and they do for me. I can't say that for everybody.
Unless you're trying to get over concussion.
Well, you
I'm
want
gonna
it
tell
dark,
you.
and you want it dark.
I brought something like that.
well,
Yeah,
I guess-
I'm with you. I'm
yeah,
100%.
I guess the
agree.
point I'm
Yeah.
trying to make is that, though, my dad lived to be 94, and your mom is in her 90s, and when you start looking at that, and it's a wonderful life, but then you realize when you're seeing what they're going through. I saw what my dad was going through, and when that time when they slow down.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make those trips you want to go on, and you can't do those things. You can't spend that time with that grandson like you want to do, or granddaughter, when it comes whatever the offsprings are going to be from your daughters. You want to be able to spend that time and still be able to do it with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, my dad hadn't even gone to the new Busch Stadium, and I don't know why, because he said, I don't want to be around crowds or anything like that. And for whatever reason, on one Father's Day, I said, Dad, why don't you let all your kids take you to the ball game? And he said, okay. And I thought, really? You've always told me no. So we went and got a block of tickets and took him to the game, and he had a great time. But then when he got done, he left. He goes, you know what? Now that I've seen it, I don't need to come back.
Good for him, though.
But he got a chance to see it.
God bless him.
So, and he was blessed with his children able to come back while my sister was still alive, and we got him a brick down there at Jefferson Memorial because he served.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that, had a special presentation. It was just one of those things that you need to honor the people that brought you not only into this world, but raised you with the ethics, the morals, the dedication to your craft, or your life, or your family. That's where it comes from.
Really made you what you are.
It really is. And if you deny that, then you want to challenge that. And sometimes I see kids today, they don't want that ethic. They don't want to work that hard. Wow, nobody really wants to work that hard. But if you don't do it, you don't appreciate anything you've done.
Yep.
You know it.
Yep.
I think a lot of people down here know it. It's life isn't easy, but it is rewarding when you realize the things you can do and the people you meet and the contacts you make. And when you look back at it, sometimes you really have learned a lot in your life, and you can pass that on. There's nothing better. There really is nothing better.
Like I said, I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but in talking to some of the commissioners, like the friends that I met up there, I think I did mention this earlier. I don't know. As I get older, I find myself repeating myself. Do you notice that? But at any rate, really and truly, the wealth of a man isn't measured necessarily by the money he has in the bank, but the number of people he calls his friends. And so I could die a rich man right now.
Yeah.
And so, but I really, it's been a great 16 years, and I really truly appreciate. I never took it for granted the trust that the citizens placed in me, and I'm a very, very blessed man, and I don't want to. As I thought about it, I thought, I don't want to be looking with regret that I should have done something sooner, And, and it's funny, actually the County Commission Association Board was meeting Wednesday, just before the training, and they asked me to come on up for that meeting and be there, and they wanted to see me and say goodbye and hello and all, all the stuff, but they were shocked and just blown away, and I felt a need to explain to them too, just what we've talked about, the how and the why. And a gentleman I sat with is a great friend of mine from another county, and a wise fellow. He's been in commission longer than I have. And when I was done, he said, and he'd already heard pretty much what I was talking about, why I had and what was going on, my personal commitments and things. And he said, he said when he heard the explanation of what I said, and he was glad to hear it straight from me. But he said, he said, I've been thinking. He said, and I told my wife just yesterday. He said he found out his elderly father may not have much more time. Is in the hospital, and he said, and I heard your deal. And he said, I told my wife. I said, what the heck am I doing? He said, and he looked at me and he said, I may not be far behind you. He said, you may have given me what I need to say, you know what, this is what's important. And he said, I've got to think about this. And said, but we're great friends, and I really appreciate him. But
when you look back, you spent a quarter of your life serving Denton County. When you start thinking about it, 16 years of your 64 years you spent serving.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
And you have to look back on that. I mean, that 16 years went by in a blink.
Oh, it did. It did. I can't believe it's been 16 years. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. You're right. 4 times 6, 4, 2. Yes, that's a fourth of it. Yep. And I was on school board for 20 years.
Yeah.
Out at R3. And I want to tell you, if there's ever good training to be on county commission, serve several years on school board and survive that now. My hat's off to school board members, every one of them.
Yeah.
But at any rate, you're right. I'd never thought about it like that, Stan. Thank you. I'll catalog that one.
Well,
Yeah.
and you should. I mean, it's, I look at when I came to Salem and I had a plan. Everybody has plans when they're younger. You're going to do this, and you're going to retire when you're 40 and all this other stuff. Well, that doesn't usually happen. That, you try and put a plan together. It's just not everything falls into place. The world changes. I think when I came here, the mine shut down. Yeah, nothing like a nice, nice kick in the face. And all of a sudden you're thinking, where's the money going to come from? How's this all going to happen? You find your way fighting through it. You do different things to make things happen. Try and work with the situation you have at hand and make it work.
That's right.
And you have to adapt. And when you adapt, your plans do change. So my 5-year plan, I guess now become a 40-year plan.
Yeah, I know.
But then also, kind of like what you were saying, though. I came to Dane County. I was a very, I guess say aggressive. I won't say entrepreneur. It wasn't an entrepreneur, but I was aggressive in trying to set a path for me.
Uh-huh.
And in doing so,
and you needed to be.
I did this with a goal. I came down here with a goal. And obviously, when the mine shut down, I kind of detoured it a little bit, so it slowed it down. So my 5-year plan became a 10-year plan, and then, after about 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, I didn't mind just the more of a laid-back attitude.
Yep.
I wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere anymore. I didn't have to be in this place in St. Louis and this place in St. Louis. And I worked in property management. Anybody want to get tugged at both ends 24 hours a day, go be in property management in a major city, because when you run 2,800 units in one location, and then you got houses and you've got commercial businesses, and somebody's there to be putting a roof on and they didn't get it on in time, and suddenly a storm comes up and it floods the building, and you get a call on a Friday night and you have to have it back open Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and you got to figure out how to get the water out, get it repainted, get everything done, and it's all on you.
Yep.
And you're 25 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have got, just like you're talking about, knowing those people, those contacts. And without those people, you can't get things done. And you learn very quickly about the situations at hand and how important. What I learned out of that situation, too, it wasn't just that we got the building back open and everybody was happy. That was the hardest part. I had to call people at 6 o'clock Saturday morning saying, we don't have a key. We bought that building from somebody else. I don't have a key to your business. We need to get in and see what kind of water damage. What water damage? Well, they were putting a new roof on, and we got 3 inches of rain, and it's pouring into your building out there.
Stuff happens. Don't it?
Oh yeah, and so then they'd come out. They all met me out there at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and we went through it. And from 8 o'clock Saturday morning to 8 o'clock Monday morning, we worked 48 hours straight. We extracted, I can't tell you how many thousands of gallons of water. They had to repaint, replace fixtures, replace drywall, replace ceiling tiles, vacuum. Everything, and got it all done. 48 hours, and I gave it, and it wasn't. Somebody said, "Well, you did." I said, "I didn't do half the work."
Well,
all these people out there, just like you pointed out, it's not me.
I was going to say that was the one thing I wanted to mention too. When I talk about all the great things that we've gotten done, I want to put that emphasis on we, because I didn't do anything by myself, nothing whatsoever. But
you were part of a team.
Everybody pulled together in all these different areas, get this stuff done, and that's just the way it works. And so it's been a great 16 years. I really truly appreciate the trust the citizens placed in me, and looking back, I don't know that I would have changed a thing. There are some things that if you'd known then what you knew a few months later, whatever, you probably would. But that's luxury of hindsight, and there's no use dwelling on that now. And, as old Willie Nelson said, there's nothing I can do about that now, so why sweat it, So it's good. But I have no regrets, and I really, truly do appreciate the opportunity. And Stan, I have very much appreciated you and the opportunity to do this program every couple of weeks, to get in. You made it extremely easy, and I was a little I might be fudging to say just a little nervous the first time stuff, but it clicked along because, quite frankly, really all we did was just, you and I would just sit down to try to fill in the blanks and tell the rest of the story about what's going on and why, and put it out there. And
well, a lot of people were getting the information from newspaper, radio, Euro of the Day. We get it out there. We can't go into great detail.
It's the
you were able
condensed.
to go in that
It's the
detail.
condensed version.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah, and then you were able to say, well, this is why we did it, and this is the underlying effects as to why if we don't do it, it's going to happen. If we do it, this is going to happen. That stuff couldn't be explained just in any print form or even on a radio report.
Not in a 30-second news spot or
even a 3-minute newscast.
Right. So anyway, I do appreciate that chance, and I very much enjoyed it. And there's a chance I may be back on the air here with you sometime in a different capacity,
Well, we
doing some
appreciate
things
that,
and still
Darrell,
trying to get information out to people. It's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be working with the stockyards more, and I'll be working more with people, basically just helping them with livestock marketing needs and some stuff like that. And I've done that before, and very much enjoy it and things. So we'll see, but it'll free me up a little more, and that's where we're at.
Very good. Well, I didn't use your intro today because it wasn't the same program.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't have the exit out there either. But we do want to thank you for doing this for all these years. We really do appreciate it. I've learned so much more from listening in our conversations and being able to actually go to those meetings when I go, and when I hear the discussion, I kind of know where it came from.
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say this is a little bit of a bittersweet moment here, doing this. And actually, I came in with not very much written. Had virtually no notes.
Usually you had a full
I usually have 2
notebook.
pages, and I'm still finding myself this silly concussion thing, having to struggle to put together paragraphs and things, concentrate like that. But it's better, and the doctor says everything's fine. There's nothing to worry about. Just takes a little time. But I have very much enjoyed this, and we've covered lots of ground, and I fully expected this program was going to be about 10 or 15 minutes, and I see
lasted an hour.
yeah.
It's all right.
But
we wanted to tell we wanted you to get that word out there as to all the reasons, and wanted you to be comfortable doing it. And again, we do appreciate all that you've done, all the work that you did as a commissioner. We thank everything that got done with the help of your team at the courthouse, and it is a team effort, and it continues to be a team.
And
effort.
we are very, very blessed. This county, a county of a small third-class county such of ours, to be in the position we are in, and with things we got going, and and things. So again, that's to the credit of everybody.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure the commissioners at training are getting phone calls about rain today.
I bet they were.
I'm sure they are. I know that Sligo, which is another thing I know that's close to your heart. They've already flooded out this morning.
Oh yeah,
so,
I'm sure. But there's going to be a new bridge down there.
Yeah, and so I know
As a result of our
that
work
was
on
near
that.
and dear to your heart to get that done, and I know but that's been, my gosh, Darrell, they've been talking about doing that. They had it actually on a constitutional, or they had it on a statewide ballot when they were trying to get money from MoDOT and to be replaced. Of course, it failed.
I got a call, and actually I got a call this week from MoDOT folks that are working on getting the new bridge built down south of town on some right-of-way question and issue and stuff. And so I was able to help him a little bit, maybe, I don't know, but did tell him that I won't be the person he needs to be calling, though, and stuff. So, but that's all right. If somebody have a question for somebody I can help, I sure will. I'm not, like I said, I'm
still
not
a
going
wealth
anywhere.
of knowledge, and they can rely on you to give them at least the insight as to why things were done.
Yep.
And then they can make their decisions from there.
Yep. So anyway,
Well, we thank you very
wraps
much.
us up.
Former Presiding Commissioner Darrell Skiles. Right now, we're going to call you Freelance. How about that?
That'd be
Freelance
fine.
Darrell.
You can just call me Darrell.
Just call me Darrell.
That'd
That
be
could
fine.
a country song too.
Like I said, I may be back on here with you though, in another capacity, covering some areas of interest and things. So,
Well,
we'll see. But
my friend,
it
again,
won't be much politics. So
Yeah. Well, again, my friend, from all that we have gone through together, I thank you for doing this and
Well,
and being there when you were.
And I do want to say this, man, I've heard horror stories from commissioners around the state about they hate their newspaper and their radio and the media, in general and stuff. And I've always felt very blessed, Stan, that we've always had a very good relationship. Tried to be open and straight with everything, and always felt that we got a fair shake with you all, the paper too, and so. I do appreciate that as well. So anyway,
Very good.
And so
A nice mutual understanding. It's good.
thank you.
It's always
So
good.
hope to be back. Hope to be back sometime. But if not, whatever. I do hope everybody be careful out there in this weather. Don't be crossing these low water crossings and all this stuff.
Yeah,
And
I have an
but at
update.
any rate,
Probably need to get an update on that here too shortly. So we'll try and see what we've got. 44 degrees. It's raining.
and I am paying for this program again still
You
today
are
myself.
still paying for it, yes, sir. I'm
Yep.
gonna see if they
Proud
got
to
any.
do it.
They don't really have any updates on those closures. I'll probably go to the MoDOT map and see what they've got there.
Well, to everybody out there, Stan, until we meet again or you hear me on the air here again, I do hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Darrell. Appreciate it.